I yield my time to Jim Jordan.
I thank the gentleman. Ambassador Volker, you were the special representative to Ukraine, is that right?
That is correct.
And prior to that, in your diplomatic service, you worked at the NSC, you were Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, you were Ambassador to NATO, Senate confirmed Ambassador to NATO in your distinguished diplomatic career. So it may not bother you when you're referred to as the irregular channel, but it bothers Representative Turner, it bothers me. You were the special envoy to Ukraine. And in that role, you said in your opening statement, you were the administration's most outspoken public figure highlighting Russia's invasion and occupation of Ukraine and calling out Russia's responsibility in the war. Is that right?
That is correct.
And in that capacity, you strongly advocated for lifting the ban on sale of lethal defensive arms to Ukraine. Is that right?
That is correct.
And President Trump did it, didn't he?
That is correct.
But in spite of that, President Trump was still skeptical of giving hard-earned tax dollars to Ukraine, right?
Yes.
You said that in your testimony as well. And the reason he's skeptical is, let's be honest, the guy doesn't like foreign aid, right?
That's one reason, and then Ukraine's history of corruption is another.
One of the third most corrupt countries on the planet. And Europe isn't doing enough. And, oh, by the way, in the president's mind, he did think Ukraine was trying to influence the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Because things happened. The Democrats want to deny it, but when the ambassador from Ukraine here to the United States writes an op-ed on August 4th, 2016, criticizing then-candidate Trump, that's certainly trying to influence the election. When Mr. Avakov, a key minister in their government, says all kinds of negative things about candidate Trump, that certainly looks like it's trying to influence the election. And when Mr. Lyshenko states in the Financial Times during the campaign the majority of Ukrainian political figures want Hillary Clinton to win, that probably sticks in a candidate's mind. I know we all run campaigns. When people say bad things about us in the course of the campaign, we don't necessarily think great things about them. But you were convinced Zelensky was the real deal, right?
That is correct.
Because you spent a lot of time with the guy. And guess what? When aid was frozen, you knew if you could get these two guys together, it'd work out. When aid was frozen, what did you say? You told the Ukrainians, don't worry about it. Well, you didn't say it. You said, don't be alarmed, right?
That is correct.
And guess what happened? By the time when aid's frozen and when it's released, all kinds of interactions between President Zelensky and senior U.S. officials, right? Starts with the call. Starts with the call with President Trump and President Zelensky. Next day, you meet with President Zelensky in Ukraine. Then we have Ambassador Bolton meeting with him. Then we have Vice President Pence meeting with him. Then we have U.S. Senators Johnson and Murphy meeting with him. And guess what? In none of those meetings, not a single one, did security assistance dollars in exchange for an investigation, not once did they come up. Did that conversation come up? Is that right?
That is correct.
Not once. No discussion of aid for investigations, and, as you testified, you never believed aid for investigations was ever being talked about either in any of these conversations.
That is correct.
But what happened in those meetings? They all became convinced of the same thing you knew. They all saw the same darn thing. This guy was the real deal. He is a legitimate reformer. And they all came back and told the president, hey, Mr. President, this guy's real. Go ahead and release the dollars. Oh, by the way, in that same time frame, you know what else happened? Their parliament, their newly elected parliament, as Mr. Morrison testified to, stayed up all night to pass the reform measures, to get rid of the prosecutor, to put in the Supreme High Anti-Corruption Court, to get rid of this ability that no one in their Congress, in their parliament could ever be hit with a crime. I mean, that's unbelievable. All that happens, and they come back and tell President Trump, hey, guess what? Time to release the dollars. And he did it, right?
The dollars were released.
Yeah, you did your job. You did your job. And you got to put up with all this because the Democrats are out to get this president. You did your job just the way Mr. Turner described. You did your job over all these years. All these years, and the Democrats put you through this. You have served our country well. The kind of diplomat we want serving. And here's the saddest, one of the saddest things about all this, that what the Democrats are putting us through. You two guys who are here telling it straight, you've both decided you're going to step out of government because of what these guys are doing. And that's the sad thing. People like Ambassador Volker and Tim Morrison, who have served our country so well, are now stepping out of our government because of what these guys are doing. And that's why Mr. Turner got so fired up a few minutes ago, and why I'm so fired up too, because we appreciate what you guys did. I yield back.